My name is Willie Blake Jr., Willie Jr. I live here in Tucson, Arizona now. But in the beginning, there was a Willie Blake Sr. and there was a Flora Mae Blake. That's my mother and my father. And my dad's father, his name was Lawrence Blake. And there was a mother, Flora Blake. Well, I was born in 1962 in a place called Arkadelphia, Arkansas, in a hospital. But back then they had what you call midwives. Some would come to your house and for you to be born, and some would do it in the hospital. I was born in a hospital. 10 miles out of town was where my home was, on a farm. So living on a farm is, how can I say this? We didn't have a lot of money, but we had one another. Let me say it as it was, okay? We didn't have a lot of money, but we had one another. There was 5 boys and 2 girls. And at that time, I went to school at Peak High School, and the school was all black. We couldn't mix at that time. Well, right about that time, Martin Luther King came to Central High School in North Little Rock, where they was trying to integrate the school called, what the young people call the Little Rock Nine. They call them that today. And looking and watching Martin Luther King, to where they beat him up so bad they broke bones in his face, and it had a great effect on me. And I hope I'm not going too fast, but watching and my mom and dad, what was happening to them and what happened to Martin Luther King had a great effect on me in a negative way. So seeing people hurt and seeing people where they were stealing, I'm a cotton picker. So we worked in the cotton fields. The girls had to go to school. They weren't allowed to pick cotton too much, so mom and dad made them go to school. But the sons, there were 5 sons, we had to pick cotton. So the person that was keeping tabs on the cotton that we picked, you have to weigh the cotton. So the guy that kept tabs, they had the ledger, wrote down what the cotton weighed from each family. Each family had a page. And the thing that really shocked me and really got me is the person that was keeping records took the book home. Well, the following day, I found out that they was changing the weight that we had worked for. And actually they were stealing from us. And that's how I made up my mind to come out here, because I'm not degrading mom and dad, but I just didn't think it was right what was happening to them. They couldn't go tell anybody that they were stealing from them. And all through our lives, we were cheated out of whatever we had. My mom used to iron shirts for 10 cents a shirt, and then one day she got a raise for 25 cents a shirt. So there was thievery all the way around. And what made me think that I wanted to come here, I didn't want to live that way. And it was the hardest thing I had to do was to come here, leave mom and dad behind, knowing what happened to them. So it took me about 2 weeks. So I went and sat down and talked to my dad and told him what was happening inside of me. I told him, Dad, I'm leaving and going to Arizona, but I'm not leaving because I'm mad at you. And I was satisfied that he was comfortable with me talking to him. So I came here in 1962 in the summertime. It was hot, hot, hot. in 1962. But when I got here, I was thinking, since I was leaving all the trouble behind me, all the meanness in Arkansas with the Little Rock 9 and Little Rock, I thought I was coming to Tucson at that time. It was going to be better. Well, I came to Tucson and I ran into the same problems that I had there in Arkansas. The old impression was, or statement was at that time, was saying, you hear people at that time say, go west, young man, go west. People would just have that in their minds, and I'm thinking if I go west, everything's going to be all right. So I came west. Everything was not all right. But as I look back and see and saw all of the people who fought us and beat us up and called us as they rode by us on a dirt road in a bus, they would throw things out the window at us, and they would call us niggers with the windows rolled down as they passed us. We had to walk about 3 miles to school. But there's something I think I need to say. All those people who hated us, the ones who spitted on us at that time, I can take my mind back when it took me at least 3 years to save up enough money to go home. Where when I got back there, all of the people who hated us, who spitted on us and called us those different names, they was all old, they were sick, they had open sores, so there is consequence for hate. And Mom and Dad put a light in us, the 5 boys and 2 girls. And we was told that we had to let our light shine everywhere we go. And we did. None of my brothers and sisters hate, and they all were successful. And I'll say this again. People should remember that there's pay for whatever you do on this earth. Whatever you do on this earth, you have to pay. So as I take my mind back and think about, there was times that I didn't want to listen to what Mom and Dad say. When they was calling us names, I wanted to go and fight, get the 5 brothers and let's go take care of the problem. But my dad said, no, leave them alone. Leave them alone because they are paying now. And no kidding, I seen with my own eyes consequences for hate. But most people go along and don't even think of it, that you got to pay before you leave this earth. So if I had anything to say to anyone, whatever you do, the go around, come around is for real. But then, but anyway, I started here in Tucson, and I made up my mind that I wasn't going to be a part of that hate. So I started working. My dream was to be a truck driver. That was a childhood dream. So I started washing dishes at the Ramada Inn down on St. Mary's Road there. Now it's called the Inn Suite. I started washing dishes, and I had those big pans. The pots and pans were bigger than me. And I had suds all in my hair. I looked like a checkerboard. But I didn't stay there. I stayed there for a while, and I moved on, and I became a truck driver. I drove the 18-wheeler big truck driver for 29 years and 7 months. After I left there, the drivers asked me would I stay and represent them with the grievance procedure, federal mediation. And I was asked if I would become a business rep, represent all union workers in the state of Arizona. So I represented UPS, I represented SunTrans, the miners, the truckers, and the help of the movie actors that come from California, the warehousemen. I represent all of those who needed help. I stayed there for a while. Then one day I walked into my office and I had a secretary that we glanded together. She was an old woman. We stuck together and we done a lot of work together. At that time, they had never had a black business rep with the Teamsters Union at all in this city. Nor they didn't have a black truck driver here, especially the union truck driver. I was the first one and the first rep. And they gave me a hard time, but in the end, there was people who liked me, and I'm gonna see how can I say this. There were other people who were trying to take my friends away from me who was white and who was Mexican at that time. But they stuck with me all the way till now, and I still have those friends now. I got to say the one name especially, and his name was Bob Goodman. Regardless of how they tried to take him out of my life, he stayed with me, and he's still with me today. And I really appreciate that. But then one day I walked into my office and told my secretary I'm gonna retire. She started crying because the other agent didn't treat her good. So I came home and told my wife, Miss Blake, who I was married to for 56 years. And she really loved me and I loved her. She was a teacher, special ed teacher at Campbell. And then she left that and went to Tucson. I told her that I was going to retire and she just couldn't believe it because I stayed on the job all the time. And I really cried myself because I didn't want to leave the other workers behind who I had good relationship at one time. So I went ahead and retired. But when I retired, I didn't know my neighborhood. I lived in Western Hills at 2243 East Hidalgo, on Hidalgo Street. And my neighborhood was really mean at that time. There was 4 neighborhoods that were really, South Park was mean, Western Hills was mean, Sugar Hill was mean. And I know in my neighborhood there was killing every second night. Every second night there was a killing somewhere, meanness. And people wouldn't even sit on the porch. They were for fear of gang stuff. And by me being out of town and retired, I got a chance to see my neighborhood. Well, it wasn't right. Everybody, all the black people started leaving Western Hills. At one time, it was all black. Western Hills was all black neighborhood. Man. Then I decided, after I saw what shape my neighborhood was in, I figured I'd try to do something about it. So I wrote a grant. I got $6 million from the United States Department of Justice there at the White House. I carried myself and other students from different schools so they can see. I wanted them to see what blacks has contributed to these United States. And we got them from different schools. So we went to Greg Harvard's office, and I carried one police officer with me. And I went there to make the presentation to get the money, and the whole committee agreed to give it to me after they saw what I was trying to do. And my neighborhood, they didn't know what I was doing, actually. I just kept it to myself because I wasn't sure I was going to get the funds, because what I wanted to do was pay all of the police officers that I could to stay in my neighborhood day and night. And they did. They stayed in my neighborhood and helped me get it straightened out. Pretty good. And I have a good neighborhood. And I made up my mind I was not going to leave Western Hill. I'm still there. And I saw that in my neighborhood, there was no place for old people to shop. They either had to go all the way over on Valencia, or they had to go over to Sam's on Grant Road. And we had a lot of old black people and Hispanic people who'd been in that area for a long time, and they had to catch the bus to go get their groceries. Well, when they got back on the bus to bring their groceries home, the young people was picking at them. And where I come from, we didn't pick at old people. We took care of them. They was our elders, and we honored them. It was a thing to do. Always. You couldn't disrespect old people, or you couldn't disrespect girls. Well, after seeing how it was in the neighborhood, first thing I done, there was no activity in Western Hills. There was a Thomas Park around the corner, but there was a lot of crime in at that park. So I live right in front of Willie Blake Park, so I can see out the door and see everything that happened. First, I put in the walkway that goes all the way around where you can walk your grandparents, or you can come. In the year 2008, I put in the Willie Blake Community Park. And we have tournaments there. The young people walk their grandparents. And in our neighborhood, there's old people taking care of their grandkids. And it's in a sad way that their kids is maybe in California, done left town, and they leave their kids with their grandparents and never come back to see them. And that's what really got me. So I decided I was going to do something about it. I went to work on the shopping center over there. It's called the Marketplace, the Bridges, right there on Keno. Walmart, Costco, Dave and Buster, and the movies. We needed that for the young people. And I found out, I hope I'm not going too fast, but I found out that people talk about young people. But I always said, if you're not going to help them, leave them alone, don't talk about them. So I decided I'd do my best to help them. That's why I put the park in, I put in the shopping center, the Dave and Bus, the Lynn's Buffet, the Walmart and all this. Now they have a place to go over there. And for a long time, people didn't know who I was. They thought that Willie Blake was a white guy. But I've been black a long time, most of my life. And I just spend my time helping people. There are old people in the neighborhood who's been there for a long time. And I found out that the ones in the neighborhood between myself and the mailman, sometimes we don't want to tell people that we need help. The older people, they can't get around like they used to. They got to wait on the bus or whatever to get to the doctor. So I got people that will help me get them to the doctor. If you need grocery, I'll help you get your food. Whatever you need, I'll help you do that. Then at Christmas time, Thanksgiving, we go and deliver turkeys to them. And when you're helping people, you can't pick and choose, I want to help this black person or this person. You got to say, as long as they're human, you got to help people. It doesn't matter what their color is. When they need help, they don't care what color you are. They're so happy to see you. And sometimes the older people, they go to crying. We can do better. To see the old people, when you go in their house, there's just a little small trail where they gathered up a lot of stuff and they can't clean up like they need to. And you have nobody coming home to help them. And that's what bothers me, really, really bothers me. And I made up my mind I was going to be the one that helped them. And that's what I do. I make sure that they eat. If they need their gas and lights, turn on. Sometimes the places who have help, they slow by their coming. And they can't wait. When your gas and lights going to be turned on, you can't wait on. They don't feel sorry for you. They just going to turn your stuff off. So it's my job in my area to do what I can do. I thought I could make it. It's my job to let my light shine everywhere I go. So everything I do in my area is not for me. My wife, Miss Blake, passed away 1 year and 3 months ago. So I spend my time, because she's not here anymore, so I just stay busy so I won't think about her. But then I run into older people, which I see them, I see my mom and dad. So that helped me keep going. So I have people now that I'm training that I figured I'm not going to live much longer anyway. Once you get close to 80 years old, your days are numbered. So I'm training a couple of people who will take over my neighborhood when I'm gone. But they have to be patient, they have to be honest, and not mind waiting on slow, older people. Yes, it has to be that way. And most people don't know. I need to go back and say something about Martin Luther King that I need to tell the public. And then I'm going to finish myself off. If it had not been for Martin Luther King, I wouldn't be able to go in these restaurants to eat. And all different races of people is able to eat together. They are able to play together. Well, for all those people who said, your little nigger kids will never play with our kids, Martin Luther King pretty much made an ass out of all of them. Because now all races of kids is playing together, boys and girls. They play in my park. I look out my window and the first thing I think about is Martin Luther King in my park. I live right across the streets. Every race of people is playing today, and if it wasn't for Martin Luther King, it wouldn't be happening today. Now I have two big dudes, two sons and two daughters. They don't hate. We didn't teach it at the table. And when you see them or meet them, they're kind. And I decided that I would teach them the way I was taught, even though they wasn't raised on a farm like me. And I think I've done a pretty good job. They don't hate you. When you meet them, they're calm, they're kind. And you hear a lot of people say, well, I don't see colors. Yeah, you do. You see colors. No way that you cannot see color. There are black people, there are white people, Hispanics, all different races of people. In order for this country to make it, you got to show kindness. You must show love, understanding, and just to see that this whole country is changing. And where I came from, they wanted to stay just one way. Now people are, young people that's marrying different races. And I say to those who was trying to keep it the old way, you can't stop it. You won't be able to stop it. So you're going to see in the years to come, even when I'm gone, there are different races of people who love one another. And I love different races. Show a little kindness, a little understanding, and we'll be just fine.